Arya once walked in the grand halls of the Varan Empire. She was born into a proud warrior race, a people who believed they were above all other life. Her steps were always strong, her voice always calm, and her mind always sharp. But all of that ended the day she discovered the truth her empire tried to hide. A truth so dark that the empire decided she must never see the world again. The memory of that day stayed burned inside her mind like fire. She remembered standing in a cold chamber, chained by metal cuffs. Her leaders looked down on her with empty eyes. As if she was no longer one of them, they called her a traitor, a liar, a danger. Arya tried to speak, but the guards forced her to her knees. Then came the pain, a white-hot beam, a flash of light, and then darkness forever. They blinded her because she saw something she was never supposed to see. After the punishment, they did not kill her right away. That would have been too easy, too kind instead. They carried her to a transport ship. Still blind, still bleeding, still confused. She heard whispers around her. "Throw her away," one guard said. "No trial," another answered. "She deserves no grave." Hours later, the ship landed on a dead mining planet far outside any trade route. Once, long ago, the planet was full of machines and workers. But now it was nothing but ash, rust, and silence. They dragged Arya out and pushed her onto the cold ground. She tried to stand, but she could not see the world around her. Dust filled her lungs, and sharp rocks cut her knees. Still, she reached forward with her hands, trying to learn her surroundings. Her fingers touched dry soil, broken metal, and the remains of old mining tools. It was a graveyard of forgotten machines. And she was meant to become one of them. The ship engines roared behind her. She felt the heat as it lifted into the sky. No one said a word to her. No one gave her a final message. They simply left her there, alone, blind, and broken. When the silence returned, Arya listened carefully. The wind hissed through empty tunnels beneath the ground. Loose metal sheets clattered like distant footsteps. Sometimes she thought she heard voices. Sometimes she thought she heard breathing. She did not know if it was real or only her mind trying to survive. Arya crawled forward, trying to find shelter. Every few steps, she touched something sharp or something dead. She could smell old chemicals in the air. Maybe from abandoned fuel tanks, her throat burned as she tried to breathe. She found a wall and leaned her back against it. Trying to rest, her whole body shook from fear and weakness. But she refused to die, even blinded and abandoned. Her spirit was not completely broken. Time passed, though she did not know how long. Hours, maybe days, maybe only minutes. The darkness never changed because it lived inside her eyes. Her stomach twisted with hunger. She had no water, no food, no protection, and yet she kept moving her hands slowly across the ground. She searched for anything she could use as support, a broken pipe, a metal bar, anything. She found a small pole and used it as a walking stick. It felt weak, like it could break at any moment. But it was better than nothing. Arya forced herself to stand. Her legs trembled. But she took one step, then another. With every step, she felt the ground shift. Sometimes she heard rocks rolling. Sometimes she heard something crawling. Her heart beat faster each time she heard movement. What kind of creatures lived on this dead world? She wondered. Were they animals? Old security drones or something worse? She tried to listen again. This time she heard slow, heavy footsteps. They were not like the metal sounds she heard before. These footsteps were steady, careful, and getting closer. Her breath caught in her throat. She tightened her grip on the weak metal pole. She could not see who or what was approaching her. Was it a hunter from the Empire, sent to finish the job? Was it some creature of the mines, hungry for anything alive? Or was it something else entirely? The footsteps stopped right in front of her. Arya felt a warm presence. Not alien, not machine. A calm voice spoke. A voice she did not recognize. A voice she had never expected to hear on this dead world. "Don't be afraid," the voice said. "I'm human." And then everything in her life began to change. The voice came from close by. Calm and warm, yet filled with caution. Arya froze where she stood. Her hands still gripping the thin metal pole, she could not see the person speaking. She could only sense the air shift around her. The presence felt strange, different from her own people, different from the hunters who once walked beside her, but also different from the monsters she imagined in this silent wasteland. "I'm human," the voice repeated. Slower this time, Arya had heard stories about humans, but never met one. Her empire taught that humans were weak, emotional, and easily broken. But this voice did not sound weak. It sounded steady and strange, a voice that held curiosity, but also worry. As if he did not want to scare her, Arya stepped back, her breathing uneven. She did not know if a human would help her or kill her. After all, her empire feared humans for a reason. Why would a human show kindness to someone from the Varan Empire? Why would he risk stepping near a blind, abandoned alien warrior? "Stay away," Arya whispered. Her voice shaking, she tried to sound strong. But the fear broke her tone. The stranger did not move. Instead, she heard him kneel down. Placing something on the ground, metal clicked softly. Then there was a gentle rustle of cloth. "I'm putting water here," he said. "I won't touch you. Just take it if you want." "Water?" The word alone made her throat ache. She had not tasted anything for hours, maybe days. Still, she did not trust him. Her empire betrayed her. Her leaders betrayed her. Why would an outsider be any different? Arya slowly reached out her hand. Her fingers brushed the ground cautiously. She moved inch by inch until she touched something cool. A metal bottle. She pulled it close and opened it carefully. The smell alone made her heart shake. Real water, clean water, not dust or poison. She lifted it to her lips and drank slowly. Every drop felt like life returning to her. "Thank you," she whispered, though part of her hated needing help. The human exhaled. Relieved, she accepted it. "My name is Ethan," he said. His voice came from a respectful distance. "I'm an explorer. Or at least I try to be. I scan old mining worlds for metal and tech, but I didn't expect to find you." Arya's grip tightened on her pole. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Nothing," Ethan replied. "Just trying to help." She did not believe that easily. Her empire never helped without asking for something in return. No one ever offered kindness freely. "Why would a human help a Varan?" she asked, her voice cold. Ethan sighed. "I don't care what species you are. You're hurt, alone. And someone threw you away, and I don't like seeing that happen to anyone." Arya felt something shift inside her chest. Not trust, but confusion. Why did his words feel honest? Why did a human care at all? Ethan took a few steps closer. Slow and careful, so she could hear each one. "Your eyes," he said softly. "What happened to them?" Arya turned her face away. "It's not your problem," she muttered. Ethan did not push, but she heard him kneel again. His backpack rustling, then he placed something else on the ground. "It's a small med patch," he said. "It won't fix your eyes, but it can stop the pain." Pain. She had been living in it since the day they blinded her. Her eyes felt like burning stones, dry and torn, still. Pride kept her from accepting help easily. But Ethan did not push, pressure, or tell her she must take it. He simply waited, silent and patient. After a long moment, Arya reached down and picked up the patch. Her hands shook as she placed it over her left eye. Then her right, for the first time in years. The burning softened, the pressure eased, and her breathing calmed. She let out a shaky breath she didn't know she was holding. "Who did this to you?" Ethan asked quietly. Arya hesitated, feeling the old fear return. "My own people," she whispered. The words tasted bitter. "They punished me, they threw me here to die." Ethan was silent for a long time. She could almost feel his anger gnawed at her. "But for her, that's wrong," he finally said. "No one deserves that." Arya felt her throat tighten. She had expected judgment, pity, or fear, but not this. Not a human's quiet rage on her behalf. Before she could speak again, Ethan's scanner beeped loudly. He jumped up, checking the device quickly. His breathing changed, faster, more alert. "Someone else just landed on this planet," he said. "And they're heading straight toward us." Arya's heart dropped. She knew exactly who it was. The Empire had returned to finish what they started. "Ethan," she whispered, "you need to run." But the human stepped in front of her instead. "I'm not leaving you," he said firmly, and for the first time. Arya felt a spark of hope, even in the darkness. The beeping of Ethan's scanner echoed through the dead air, sharp and urgent. Arya felt the vibration of danger even before Ethan spoke again. He stared at the scanner, his face growing tight with concern. "They're close," he said. His voice low and controlled, 2 life signs. Maybe 3. Moving fast, Arya's breath froze in her chest. She knew who it was. She knew how they walked, how they hunted, how they finished their work. "It's the Empire," she whispered. "They came back." Ethan looked at her with confusion and worry. "Why would they follow you here?" he asked. "They already abandoned you." Arya shook her head slowly, her voice trembling. "No one is allowed to know the truth I saw, as long as I breathe. Their secret is in danger, so they will not stop until I am dead." The wind around them shifted, as if reacting to her words. Metal plates rattled, and dust swirled in the air. Arya could not see anything, but she could feel everything. She felt the pressure of footsteps far away. She felt the tremor of landing gears digging into the soil. She felt her past crawling closer. "Step by step, we need to move," Ethan said. His hand gently touched her arm, guiding her. Arya flinched at first, not used to kindness, but she let him lead her forward. He moved quickly, keeping her close, his other hand gripping his scanner tight. They walked toward the old mining tunnels that cut deep into the ground. Arya remembered these tunnels from the sounds she had heard earlier. Metal groaning, wind echoing, mysterious clicking noises. She always feared what lived inside them, but now she feared what was behind her far more. Ethan helped her into the tunnel entrance. The air inside felt cold, sharp, and heavy with dust. Their footsteps crunched on broken stone and metal fragments. "I'll turn off my scanner," Ethan whispered. "It makes noise." "They might hear it," Arya nodded, trusting his judgment. Her senses sharpened now that sight was gone. She listened carefully. The hunters were no longer distant. She could hear their boots hitting the ground. She could hear their armor plates clinking. She could hear the high-pitched hum of Empire tech weapons. Ethan pulled her deeper into the tunnel. He kept one hand on her shoulder so she wouldn't stumble. His breathing stayed calm, but she could feel the tension in his movements. He cared about her survival, even though she was nothing to him. Nothing except someone who needed help. Something her own people never gave her. "Arya," Ethan whispered. "What exactly did you see for a moment?" She wanted to stay silent. The truth was heavy, painful, and dangerous. But Ethan deserved to know. Especially now that he was risking his life for her. "They used children," she whispered. Her voice cracked with anger and sorrow. "Children taken from conquered worlds, they trapped their life energy and used it to power war machines. They called it necessary sacrifice." Ethan stopped walking. Even without sight, Arya felt him freeze. "That's," he whispered, That's evil. Arya nodded, tears she could not see falling down her face. That's why they blinded me, she said. I found out. I tried to speak, and they punished me. Ethan wanted to say something. But before he could, a loud metallic echo rang through the tunnel. The hunters had entered the entrance behind them. Their voices carried down the stone corridors. Find her, one said. She must die today, another hissed with cold certainty. Ethan grabbed Arya's hand firmly. We need to go now, he whispered. She felt his fear, but also his determination. He would not leave her, not now, not ever. They hurried deeper into the tunnel system. The ground sloped downward sharply, forcing Ethan to slow his steps. Arya felt the air grow colder, the walls narrower. Old mining rails ran under their feet, broken and twisted. She used her free hand to touch the walls. It grounded her, helped her sense the path ahead, behind them. The hunters' footsteps echoed stronger. They were spreading out, scanning every corner. Their voices grew louder. Her trail leads this way. She is close. Shoot on sight. Ethan pulled her into a side tunnel. Stay quiet, he whispered. She nodded and held her breath. They pressed against the wall, hidden in the narrow darkness. The hunters' lights passed by the main tunnel. Arya could feel the heat of their weapons as they walked by. Ethan placed his hand gently over her mouth, making sure she didn't make a sound. Her heart pounded so hard she feared they would hear it. But they kept walking, missing the small side tunnel completely. After a long moment, when their footsteps faded, Ethan slowly removed his hand. They both exhaled softly. We're not safe yet, he whispered. This place is a maze. But we can use it. He gently guided her forward again. There's an old shelter inside the mines, he said. If we reach it, we can hide. Maybe long enough to plan our next move? Arya's voice was soft but steady. Why? Why are you helping me so much? Ethan didn't hesitate. Because someone should, he said, and if your people won't, then I will. Arya felt something she didn't feel in years. Something she thought she lost the day she was blinded. Hope, a small spark, warm and fragile. But alive behind them, the hunters roared in frustration. The chase was only beginning, and deep inside the tunnels, the darkness carried both danger and possibility. The tunnels grew narrower as Arya and Ethan moved deeper underground. Cold air brushed against Arya's skin, carrying the smell of rust and old chemicals. Every sound echoed through the stone like whispering ghosts. Ethan kept one hand on the rough wall and the other gently guiding her forward. Their steps were slow but careful. They could not afford to make noise. Not when the hunters were still searching behind them. Arya's breathing steadied, but her heart felt heavy. The darkness in her eyes never changed, but the darkness around them was growing thicker with every step. She could feel moisture under her fingertips. Water leaking from broken pipes above, it dripped steadily, marking the rhythm of the tunnel like a ticking clock. Ethan finally stopped and pressed his back against the wall. Let's rest for a moment, he whispered. His voice was calm, but she could hear the strain in it. Arya lowered herself slowly onto a broken metal crate. She felt the cold bite through her skin, but she welcomed the moment to breathe. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The silence between them felt heavy, full of questions, fear, and something unspoken. Finally, Ethan turned toward her. Arya could feel him watching her, even though she couldn't see his eyes. She felt the weight of his curiosity. Arya, Ethan said softly. You've told me part of the truth, but I think there's more. Arya stiffened, her fingers curled into fists on her lap. She did not want to speak, not because she feared Ethan, but because saying the truth out loud felt like reliving every moment of pain. Ethan continued quietly. If I'm going to help you, I need to understand what I'm protecting. His words were gentle, not demanding. He was not forcing her. He was offering her space. And that made it harder to refuse. Arya took a deep breath. Her voice trembled when she finally spoke. Do you know what the Varan Empire always told the galaxy? They said they were chosen by fate, a perfect race. Made to rule over weaker species. Ethan nodded slowly. I've heard that, he whispered. Arya tightened her jaw. It's all a lie. Their power doesn't come from strength or honor or fate. It comes from the children they steal. Ethan's breath caught. He leaned in closer, listening without interrupting. They capture children from peaceful worlds, Arya continued. They trap their life energy inside machines, war machines. Weapons that can shake mountains. The children's spirits are locked inside forever. They call it the soul engine. Ethan felt sick hearing this. His hands curled into fists. That's beyond cruel, he whispered. That's something no empire should ever do. Arya swallowed hard. It was my duty to study old war tech, she said, during my work. I found a hidden chamber. I saw the machines. I saw the children. Her voice broke completely. I heard them, she whispered. Their voices were crying from inside the metal. They were calling for help. Ethan closed his eyes. Even imagining such a thing filled him with rage and sorrow. He understood why Arya's leaders blinded her. Why they threw her away. She knew too much. Arya hugged her arms around her body. I reported what I saw, she said softly. I thought someone would listen, but the council ordered my punishment instead. They said I saw nothing. They said I was unworthy to look at the Empire again. The memory burned inside her. The cold floor, the chains, the blinding light. The scream she swallowed because no one listened. Ethan slowly reached out and placed his hand over hers. His touch was gentle but steady. You didn't deserve that, he whispered. You did the right thing. Arya turned her head slightly toward his voice. No one had ever told her that before. You believe me, she whispered, disbelief shaking her tone. Ethan nodded without hesitation. I do, he said. And if what you're saying is true, then helping you isn't a choice, it's a responsibility. Before Arya could respond, the tunnel vibrated with a loud, metallic thud. Ethan immediately grabbed her hand and pulled her behind a support pillar. The sound echoed again, closer this time, a dull, heavy boom. Like metal slamming against the walls, they're using pulse scanners, Arya whispered. That's how they track life energy. Ethan cursed under his breath. So they'll find us soon, he said. Arya nodded. They never give up. Ethan took a deep breath, gathering his courage. We're not dying here, he said firmly. I'll get you out. No matter what, Arya felt something warm in her chest. Not fear, not sorrow, but trust. A trust she thought she could never feel again. Another loud pulse echoed through the tunnel. Shaking dust from the ceiling, Ethan stood, pulling Arya with him. They had no time to rest now. The hunters were closing in. And the truth Arya carried was too heavy to let die in the dark. Together, they stepped deeper into the unknown. Guided not by sight, but by determination, courage, and a fragile bond growing between them. The tunnel shook as another pulse scanner blasted through the underground maze. Dust rained down from the ceiling, coating Arya's hair and Ethan's shoulders in gray powder. Ethan tightened his grip on Arya's hand, guiding her forward with urgency. We have to move now, he whispered. Arya nodded, though fear twisted inside her chest like a tightening rope. They won't stop, she said quietly. They never stop. The narrow tunnel slanted downward. Forcing them to lean forward as they walked, Arya slid her fingers along the wall, feeling every crack, every cold line of metal. Ethan's flashlight was dim, flickering with every step. He tried to keep the beam low so the hunters wouldn't spot the light. But deep down, he knew the scanners were their bigger threat. They could map life energy through stone, through walls, through any cover. What's ahead? Arya asked softly. Ethan checked his small digital map, a rough scan he made earlier. There should be an old mining lift shaft, he said. If we can reach the platform, we might get to the deeper tunnels and down there. Maybe a shelter or old command room, Arya swallowed. Deeper tunnels meant safety, but they also meant darkness thicker than night. Creatures lived down there, creatures she had heard only by sound on earlier days. Metal scraping, soft breathing. Unknown movement, but the hunters were worse. Anything was better than falling into their hands behind them. A sharp metallic clang echoed through the stone. Arya tensed, her shoulders stiffening. That's their armor, she whispered. Recognizing the sound instantly, Ethan turned off the flashlight. Plunging them into pure darkness, we need to be silent, he said. Barely audible, his hand moved to her back. Gently guiding her forward, his warmth steadied her, even as fear clawed at her chest. They crept deeper into the tunnels. Moving slow but steady, the air felt colder. Thickened with old dust, Ethan's boots stepped lightly. But Arya could hear her own breathing growing louder. Too loud, she feared. Every inhale felt like a shout. Every exhale like a warning. Then, suddenly, the ground vanished under Ethan's foot. He stumbled forward, pulling Arya with him. She gasped as her foot hit empty air. But Ethan quickly tightened his hold, stopping her from falling. It's the shaft, he whispered. Be careful. It's a long drop. Arya reached out with her free hand. Feeling the edge of the shaft, cold air rose from the darkness below. It smelled like metal and old oil. Ethan leaned over and looked down, though Arya could only imagine it. I see the lift platform, he said. It's about 6 meters down. How do we get there? She asked. Ethan scanned the wall. Ladder, he whispered. It's damaged, but still holding. He helped Arya find the first rung. Her hands trembled as she tightened her grip. Go slow, Ethan, said softly. I'm right behind you, step by step. Arya lowered herself down the ladder. Her feet searched for each rung carefully. The metal shook under her weight. Groaning like an old beast, she prayed it wouldn't snap. She could hear Ethan climbing behind her. Steady and strong, he made sure she didn't slip. One hand always ready to catch her halfway down. Another pulse scanner roared through the tunnel above. The ladder vibrated, nearly throwing Arya off. She gasped. Her fingers slipping for a moment. I've got you, Ethan said quickly. His hand wrapped around her wrist until she regained her hold. Arya breathed out shakily, without sight. Every movement felt like stepping through a storm. They reached the platform at last. Arya's feet touched the cold metal grate. Ethan jumped down after her, landing softly. The platform shook slightly under their combined weight. Good, he whispered. We can use the old railcar tracks from here, before they could move. A sound echoed above them, a harsh, mechanical screech. Arya recognized it instantly. Drones, she whispered. They sent drones into the tunnels. Ethan cursed under his breath. If the drones find us, they'll signal the hunters. Arya pointed toward the left tunnel. There, she said. I remember air flowing that direction earlier. Ethan trusted her senses. He guided her into the left tunnel. Moving quickly now, the ground sloped again. The darkness growing even thicker. Every step felt uncertain, but they kept going. Driven by desperation and hope, up above, the drones hummed. Their red sensors scanning the shaft, Ethan pulled Arya behind a fallen metal beam. The drone lights swept past, missing them by a hair. Arya held her breath, praying silently. The drones hovered, searching. Then finally flew away. But not for long, they'll return, Ethan whispered. We need to keep moving. They walked for several minutes until the tunnel widened. Ethan shined his faint light across the space. His breath caught. Arya, he whispered. I think we found an old command shelter. Arya tilted her head. Sensing the sudden change in air, the room felt bigger, safer. The walls didn't echo as sharply. For the first time since the chase began, they had a moment of hope. Ethan guided her inside and closed the rusted metal door behind them. The noise echoed softly. Arya lowered herself to the ground, exhausted, her legs trembling from fear and climbing. Ethan crouched beside her, touching her arm gently. "We made it." "For now," he said quietly, his voice held relief, but also worry. Because both of them knew the same truth. The hunters were coming, the drones were searching, and this shelter was only a temporary escape. But for the first time, Arya felt she might survive the next hour. Maybe even the next day, because she wasn't alone anymore. Not in the dark, not in the fear, not in the fight. Together. They would find a way out, no matter what hunted them. No matter what waited below, and no matter how deep the darkness grew. The old command shelter felt like a forgotten tomb buried under the planet's skin. Cold metal walls surrounded them, covered in dust, rust, and faded symbols. Arya sat on the floor, breathing slowly, trying to calm the tremble in her hands. Ethan searched the room with his faint flashlight. Careful not to make noise, he checked broken panels, dead screens, and old supply boxes. Most things were useless, but he didn't give up. He knew they needed anything to help Arya survive. Arya tilted her head, listening to the soft clicks and shuffles of Ethan's movements. She trusted his sounds now, trusted the calm rhythm of his breathing. In a life that once felt full of lies and cruelty, his presence felt strangely warm. "I never thought I would hide with a human," she whispered. Ethan paused, surprised at her soft tone. "Well," he said gently, "I never thought I'd save a Varen." A faint smile touched Arya's lips. But the moment was brief, her eyes still burned. Her vision still trapped in endless black. And the hunters were still somewhere above. Searching, moving, waiting. Ethan opened another old locker. And this time, something metal clattered out. He grabbed it before it hit the floor loudly. "What is it?" Arya asked. Ethan brushed off dust, revealing a small rectangular device with cracked glass. "It looks like a portable medpod," he said. "Old model, but maybe still working." Arya's breath caught. "A medpod," she repeated. Ethan nodded, excitement rising in his voice. "If it has energy left, it might fix your eyes, or at least heal the damage." Arya's hands shook. The thought of seeing again felt like a dream too dangerous to believe. "Ethan," she whispered, "what if it doesn't work?" Ethan knelt beside her, placing the device in her hands. "Then nothing changes," he said softly. "But if it does, your life changes forever." Arya touched the cold metal surface. Her fingers traced the lines and buttons. She remembered using devices like this long ago, before she was punished, before darkness claimed her world. "Open it," she said quietly, her voice trembling with fear and hope. Ethan pressed the activation switch for a long second. Nothing happened. Then a soft blue glow flickered from inside. Arya gasped as she felt the warm air from the device. It's alive," Ethan whispered with relief. He helped guide Arya's face toward the small pod's healing field. "Let me know if it hurts," he said. Arya nodded slowly. "I've lived with pain for years," she said. "I can handle this." The healing light touched her damaged eyes gently. Warmth spread across her skin like a soft breath. A gentle vibration hummed through the device. Her eyes tingled, stung, and then soothed. She hissed softly as the burning sensation returned, but then slowly faded, replaced by something strange. Something she almost forgot. Light, a faint glow behind the darkness. A shimmer that flickered like a distant star. "Ethan," she whispered. Her voice trembled. I see something." Ethan leaned closer, his heart pounding. "What do you see?" he asked. Arya's breathing quickened. "It's small, It's weak. But I see light. Tears rolled down her cheeks. For 10 long years, she knew only black emptiness. Never shapes, never colors, never brightness. Now a tiny glow flickered inside her world. Like hope blooming inside a dead land. The medpod beeped as its energy lowered. Ethan supported her shoulders, keeping her steady. "Let it finish the cycle," he whispered. "You're doing great." The light inside Arya's vision grew slightly stronger. Blurry, unfocused, but real. A part of her wanted to scream with joy. Another part feared this would all vanish in a moment when the pod finally powered down. Silence filled the shelter. Arya opened her eyes slowly. The darkness was still there, but now she could see a faint outline. A soft glow where Ethan stood. She lifted her trembling hand toward the blur. "Ethan," she whispered. I can see your shape." Ethan's throat tightened with emotion. "That's amazing," he said softly. "That's more than I hoped for." Arya reached forward, and Ethan gently guided her hand to his face. Her fingers touched his cheek for the first time. She could see the warmth behind the touch, not just feel it. A small, blurry light surrounded him. He was no longer just a voice in the dark. He was a presence she could almost see. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. "You gave me back something I thought I lost forever." Ethan shook his head. "You did the fighting," he said. "I just held the medpod before they could say more." The ground trembled. A deep rumble shook the walls. Dust spilled from above like falling ash. Ethan grabbed her arm, pulling her up. "They found the shelter," he said urgently. Arya's knew. Weak vision flickered with fear as she climbed to her feet. "They're here," she whispered. Ethan held her close, steadying her as the door shook violently, metal bent under powerful blows. Arya's world was brighter now, but danger was even closer. And the Empire was not done with her yet. Together, they prepared to face whatever broke through that door. Because Arya had something she hadn't had in years. Not sight, not strength, but hope. And she would not lose it again. The metal door shook again, louder this time. A harsh screech echoed as the hunters forced their weapons into the cracks. Arya could see only blurry shapes, faint lights glowing in the darkness. But even that fragile vision made her heart race. For 10 years, she lived in pure blackness. Now the world was beginning to return, and she refused to lose it again. Ethan stood in front of her, gripping his old mining cutter like a weapon. He wasn't trained like the hunters. He didn't have armor, or enhanced muscles, or cold discipline. But he had courage. And courage was something the Varen Empire never understood. "They're almost inside," Arya whispered. Ethan nodded, never taking his eyes off the door. "We'll make them regret coming here," he said. His voice carried no fear, only determination. The metal door burst inward with a violent crash. Shards flew across the room. Clattering like angry teeth, Arya covered her face, feeling heat from the energy blast through her weak vision. She saw the bright silhouette of 2 Varen hunters stepping inside. Tall, armored, deadly. Their glowing visors cut through the darkness like knives. "There she is," one growled. "Finish it," the second commanded. Ethan stepped forward without hesitation. "Over my dead body," he said. His voice echoed in the shelter. A human standing against giants. The first hunter fired a shot. Ethan barely rolled aside, the energy beam scorching the wall behind him. Arya's heart stopped. She reached out toward his blurry shape. "Ethan," she cried softly. But he was already moving, quick, sharp, fearless. The hunters advanced with heavy steps, their armor glowing red with power. Arya felt the vibrations through the floor. She forced herself to stand tall, her weak legs shaking. "Stop," she said. Her voice trembled. But she didn't let it break. "You blinded me. Abandoned me." But you will never silence me again." The hunters paused. Surprised, she still stood. "You should not speak," one said. "You lost that right when you betrayed the Empire." Arya lifted her chin, her blurry vision fixed on their glowing visors. "I did not betray the Empire," she said. "I betrayed your lies." Anger surged in the hunter's posture. The second raised his weapon, aiming directly at her heart. But before he could fire, Ethan leaped from behind a broken control panel. He swung the mining cutter with all his strength. The blade hit the hunter's arm, sparks flying everywhere. The hunter roared, grabbing Ethan and throwing him against the wall. Arya heard the impact, her heart twisting. "Ethan," she cried again. The human groaned but tried to stand. His strength was failing, but he refused to fall. Arya knew she had seconds before they killed him. Before they killed her, before the truth died with her. Her hands moved along the control table beside her, searching, feeling, hoping. Then her fingers touched something round. Something familiar, a broadcasting sphere from old mining days. Broken but still usable, she remembered training with these years ago. They could transmit messages across short distances, enough to reach nearby ships, miners, and old satellites that listened silently. She pressed the activation switch. The sphere flickered weakly. A small light blinked, telling her it was alive. She brought it close to her mouth, her voice shaking, but her heart steady. "This is Arya of the Varen Empire," she spoke. "Blinded for discovering the truth, punished for defending innocent children. Left to die for refusing to stay silent." The hunters froze, their attention pulled toward her. Ethan looked up from the floor, hope burning in his tired eyes. Arya continued, "The Empire uses children as fuel, their souls trapped to power war machines. They call it honor, they call it glory, but it is murder." The hunters rushed toward her. "Stop her," one shouted. But Ethan tackled the first hunter, slowing him down. The second raised his weapon to shoot, but Arya finished her message before he could fire. "To all who hear this," she said, "rise." The sphere glowed brightly, then released the transmission into the sky, up through the tunnels, through the broken planet's surface, into the silent watches of listening satellites. And then across the system, a voice carried by truth and pain. A voice that the Empire never expected to be heard again. The hunter closest to her swung his weapon, but a sudden explosion shook the tunnel above them. Dust and stone rained down, the ceiling cracked, creating a barrier between Arya and the hunters for a moment. She couldn't see anything, but she didn't need to. She knew what that tremor meant. Ethan pulled her to her feet. "They heard your message," he said breathlessly. Someone answered it, through her blurry vision. Arya saw a new light flooding down the tunnel. Not the red of hunters, but the white-blue glow of ships landing. Ships of rebels, of free worlds, of people who had heard her truth. Arya leaned against Ethan, tears falling. "You helped me see again," she whispered, "not just with my eyes, but with my soul." Ethan held her close. "And now the galaxy sees the Empire for what it is," he said. The hunters roared behind the fallen stones. But they were too late. Arya was no longer alone, and the Empire's darkness could no longer hide in silence. Her story had finally reached the stars, and she was ready to rise with it.